This special meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners will now come to order. First item, we'll have just a short prayer and pledge of allegiance. Everybody stand, please. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for the opportunity to come and to do the business of our county. We ask that all our deliberations be acceptable in your sight, and that we protect the health and the welfare and the education of our citizens. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business, in addition to welcoming everybody here tonight in the press, and I don't know if we're on television or not, but if we are, those of you who will listen either live or by delay, thank you for having an interest in our county and the things that we do. At this time, I would like to turn it over to County Manager Amy Cannon, who will bring our annual budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
First of all, I want to thank this Board of Commissioners for the opportunity this evening to share with you our recommended annual budget for fiscal year 2017. You'll find at your seats a copy of the recommended budget, also a copy of the PowerPoint slides so that you can make notes along the way. So I'll begin to give you an overview of a few of the topics that we'd like to address this evening. First of all, I'd like to have some discussion about our local economy. I'd like to tell you about some of the budget development considerations. We did develop some funding priorities. We'll highlight those and some other expenditures. And at the end, I'd like to share some future considerations. For an overview of the recommended budget for fiscal year 2017, the county-wide annual budget totals $430 million. The general fund this year totals $327.2 million. This represents an increase this year of approximately $7.3 million above last year's adopted budget, or just a little bit over 2%. Despite what you may have read in the newspaper on Sunday, our tax rate remains the same at 74 cents per hundred, and 1 penny on the tax rate will generate approximately $2.3 million. First, let's talk about some of our current year revenue projections. Our projections indicate for the current year that real and personal property collections will exceed our budget by $1.7 million, or just a little over 1%. In the area of motor vehicles, as you know, the Tax and Tag Together initiative began in 2012. Our motor vehicle collections have increased about $4.5 million since that period of time. Now, that program was designed to capture motor vehicles that were not being listed in tax offices. Based on this increase, I think you'll agree with me that this has been an efficient program. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is that a cumulative number?
Yes, sir, that's a cumulative number. Now, going forward, I don't think we can expect this type of increase that we've seen in the last couple of years. I would like to talk for a few moments about our local economy. Financial sustainability continues to be a key consideration as we develop the budget. It appears that Cumberland County really has not recovered from the recession that began in 2008. As you know, the county, the state, and the nation really faced some unprecedented economic challenges. But today, there are other North Carolina local governments that are experiencing growth. But I believe Cumberland County remains in a period of what I would call weak growth. And I think the best way to illustrate that to you this evening is by diving in and taking a look at the growth in our property tax values and our growth in our sales tax. And to dive even a little bit deeper, I want to compare it pre-recession growth and post-recession growth. This is a slide that compares the revenue growth pre-recession of our property values. You can see in 2007, our property natural growth was a little bit over 4%. For this period of time, the average natural growth in our property tax values is about 3.7%. Here's what it looks like post-recession for the years 2011 through 2015. This looks significantly different. The average natural growth for this period of time is about just a little over 2%. So what does this mean? What does it mean for Cumberland County? On average, as a result of the recession and the drop in natural growth, we have about $680,000 less in property tax revenue to budget. Over a 5-year period, that equates to about $3.4 million. Sales tax, as you know, is another key indicator of our local economy. And we'll do the same comparison. The pre-recession average is about 6.68%. Post-recession, just about 2.5%. I think it's clear just based on this that our sales tax have not returned to pre-recession levels. This chart shows our sales tax growth for a 12-year period from 2004 through 2016, or what we expect to collect this fiscal year. The gray area represents the post-recession. On average, we have about $1.9 million less available post-recession in sales tax funding. I think you can see from this chart the volatility and see that sales tax is very difficult to project from year to year. I believe these graphs indicate a period of weak growth. As you know, property tax and sales tax account for over 65% of the revenue in the general fund. And historically, we've relied on these revenue sources to fund inflationary increases, departmental requests, and to fund new initiatives. This extended period indicates that maybe we're in a new reality of what an environment that we're forced to operate in. Now, let me pause here for just one moment. I want to assure you this is not a message tonight of doom and gloom. But I believe the best decisions are made if you understand the environment that you're operating in. Despite a period of weak growth, because we've been in this period of weak growth. It didn't just start this fiscal year. Despite this period of weak growth, Cumberland County and this Board of Commissioners has made significant progress. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you some specifics so that you'll know that we are moving in a positive direction. Now, revenue trends are very important as you develop a budget, and there are other things that have to be considered as well. This year we had something unique that had to be considered. During this current fiscal year, we added 13 income maintenance caseworkers and 23 time-limited positions. We did that in response to challenges that we were facing in our food nutrition and Medicaid programs. The total cost of annualizing this action is $1 million, and our portion is $330,000. That was a consideration in developing this budget. Again, financial sustainability continues to be a guiding principle. I believe it's important to continue to protect our solid financial position going forward. We developed some funding priorities, all of which are aligned with your strategic plan. First of all, our funding priorities are investment in our workforce, mandates, operational efficiency, and capital investment planning. So before we move into the expenditure side, I do want to share some revenue projections with you for the coming fiscal year. Ad valorem taxes are budgeted for next year at $153.9 million. We projected natural growth at about 1.1% or 1.2%. That equates to $1.7 million. Motor vehicles are budgeted at $15.7 million, and there's relatively very little growth budgeted for next year in motor vehicles. Sales tax. For next year, sales tax are projected at $40.9 million. That equates to a 2.5% natural growth increase over what we believe we'll collect this fiscal year. Our county-wide sales tax, our taxable sales, continue to lag behind statewide taxable sales. And I want to show you that on a graph. This chart shows that trend. Statewide taxable sales are shown in blue. County taxable sales are shown in red. I want to point out fiscal year 2014. You'll see negative growth that year. And I want to remind you, that was the year that we had the furloughs, federal furloughs, we had the federal government shutdown, and we also were facing sequestration. So that was a significant drop. But I also want to point you to this current fiscal year, 2016. Our sales tax and statewide sales have dropped from the 2015 level. I think, again, this shows sales tax are very difficult to project from year to year, and truly we can't use statewide averages as a comparison for Cumberland County. And finally, in revenue, the recommended budget includes an appropriation of fund balance in the amount of $7.9 million for recurring expenditures. This is within the fund balance parameters. So I'd like to turn your attention to the expenditure side this evening. But first, before we talk about recommended expenditures, I'd like to share some of the requests from our departments. The supplemental requests from departments this year totaled $10 million. Included in those requests were requests for 75 new positions, 48 vehicles, $2.8 million in capital outlay, and about $775,000 for maintenance and renovation. With very limited growth in our revenue sources, we had our funding allocation focus, and that was first to allocate funding in support of the strategic plan, continue the mission of providing quality services, but most of all to allocate recurring funding only to the extent that we considered it sustainable in the coming fiscal years. Unfortunately, there was very little of the supplemental requests that we could fund. This chart summarizes each funding priority and the dollars allocated to each funding priority. On the right-hand side, you can see how that funding priority was funded. Which revenue source? Was it a recurring revenue source, or did we use assigned fund balance? Our first funding priority is investment in our workforce. And this supports your strategic goal of retaining motivated, professional, well-trained personnel who offer excellent customer service with pride. As you know, we have experienced a significant increase in our health insurance claims over about the last 18-month period. To mitigate those continuing increases in the new fiscal year, we made some plan design changes that will take effect July 1st. Those plan design changes are projected to equal healthcare savings in about $2.5 million. These plan design changes will affect the employees as they actually utilize the health insurance after July 1st. One of the largest areas that is affected is in the area of specialty copays and doctor's visits. A doctor's visit to a specialty doctor will now be subjected to the $2,000 annual deductible and then the coinsurance. As a result of that, we recommend using some one-time fund balance to provide employees with a one-time $800 stipend for full-time employees and then a prorated amount for part-time employees. In addition, the recommended budget includes $1.5 million as another contribution and an increase in the employer contribution for health insurance. Unfortunately, this year, we were unable to identify sufficient recurring revenue to provide a cost of living adjustment. The recommended budget also includes $106,000 to expand our employee pharmacy hours. Another key change in our health care plan design is the addition of a retail pharmacy deductible beginning July 1st. Management held over 12 sessions, informational sessions for employees to discuss the changes and educate them about these changes. We had over 800 employees that attended those sessions. At each session, employees voiced concerns about the significantly limited employee pharmacy hours. During those meetings, I committed to expanding those hours beginning July 1st. These funds will add an additional pharmacy technician and just a few contract pharmacist hours. I believe this recommendation is justified for two reasons. First, our overall volume in the pharmacy has increased about 43% in the last 12 to 14 month period. But I also believe that the volume will continue to increase as the new retail pharmacy deductible comes in place July the 1st. Our next funding category is in the area of mandates. And this supports our mission of providing quality services while being fiscally responsible. And we have several items included under this category. First, the retirement system. The Local Government Employees Retirement System Board has established a 5-year plan for stabilizing that retirement fund. For fiscal year 2017, that includes a 0.5% increase in the employer contribution. For Cumberland County, that equates next year to a $515,000 increase. For the following 4 years, the employer contribution will increase another 0.25% each year. That's an unfunded mandate. Second, the Department of Labor just released a revision to the Fair Labor Standards Act. We believe that revision will affect the county next year in the amount of $100,000. And finally, the State Board of Elections has mandated a change in the voting process, returning to a paper ballot. That will require that we replace 100% of our voting machines. I would consider this another unfunded mandate. Funds have been included in next fiscal year's budget in the amount of $809,000 to replace those voting machines. Our third category is in the area of efficiency, and this addresses the strategic objectives of advancing our automation capabilities, optimizing service delivery through innovation and technology, enhancing current services, and creating new service opportunities. We recommend a new position in our IT department, a project manager position. As you know, several years ago, we embarked on a major technology transition as we're moving from a mainframe platform that's very outdated to a more updated web-based and server-based platform. We are still in our infancy stages. We have just converted our budgets to our budget software and also our financial software. There's still major systems on our mainframe. And those systems are our HR, payroll, our permitting software with the inspections department, and then our major revenue driver for the county, our tax system. We believe this project manager position is critical to help manage the implementation of this multi-year process. Now, while our IT department is managing this transformation to a more modern platform, they're also implementing new technology or software related to business intelligence recommendations. We believe that this project manager can assist in the management of the implementation of those recommendations. Without this project manager position, the business intelligence team, the team that actually makes the reviews and makes the recommendations, will be the ones to have to manage the implementation. I believe that will reduce the number of business reviews that can actually be accomplished next fiscal year. So I want to pause for just a moment, and I think you'll get a better feel of the importance of the project manager position if I show you some of the activity very briefly with our business intelligence team. As you know, our team began with a review of veteran services and the jury summons process. I believe at your March work session, the business intelligence team actually presented their recommendations. They then moved to the food and nutrition program at the Department of Social Services. That review is in the final stages, and because there's been a lot of discussion about food and nutrition, I anticipate bringing those recommendations forward to a finance committee for information in the coming months. Also in progress, our team is reviewing central permitting and the inspections department. They're doing a review of our combined mailroom and print shop processes, and also reviewing the business processes in our legal department. And these are the projects on the horizon beginning in July, some major projects. They're going to review the business processes in our Medicaid program. They're going to take a look at our environmental health processes as well as animal control, and also our processes in the tax department. Our final funding priority this evening is capital investment planning, and this mirrors the strategic plan, the goal of establishing a planning mechanism to provide adequate infrastructure with orderly growth. Without significant growth in recurring revenue sources, it's going to be a challenge to commit to any new capital initiatives, such as a consolidated 911 center. This evening, we would like to introduce a mechanism to fund future capital initiatives without a tax increase. The recommendation is to establish a capital investment fund. The goal would be to annually transfer funds to the capital investment fund. Since we have limited revenue growth, it'd be difficult to rely on recurring revenues, but I think we have an opportunity on the expenditure side by earmarking funds that are currently budgeted for debt service payments. On an annual basis, as our debt service payments reduce or as debt is paid off, our recommendation is to earmark those funds and transfer them to this capital investment fund. In the recommended budget, we've established the fund with a transfer of $746,000. This can be the first step in providing funding, debt service funds, for Consolidated 911 Center. This provides a roadmap for future capital planning. It provides financial flexibility, and it also addresses rating agency criteria that Moody's and Standard & Poor's looks for as they rate counties. We believe this is an excellent mechanism to provide for county capital needs as well as those of the Board of Education and Fayetteville Technical Community College. So those are our funding priorities, but there are other expenditure highlights that I'd like to review this evening. There are 2 additional new positions that I'd like to discuss. First is a recommendation for an assistant county engineer position. As you know, we have a large number of county facilities. We also have a significant number of CIP projects on the horizon. In addition, this year we transferred solid waste regulatory compliance to the engineering division. It's clear that additional engineering in-house capacity is needed. This will also assist in succession planning in the future. Finally, in the gun permit division in the Sheriff's Office, the recommended budget includes continued funding for a position that was approved in April for the last quarter of this fiscal year. This position will be funded or is funded in the recommended budget through increased gun permit revenue. Other highlights in the area of education. Funding has been included for the Board of Education and the total amount of $78.7 million. That represents an increase of almost $835,000. This is in accordance with the funding agreement. For Fayetteville Technical Community College, current expense is budgeted at $10.6 million. That includes an increase which was requested of $523,000. We've continued our capital commitment of $945,000 that's used for debt service, and an additional assistance this year, a one-time assistance with debt service of $334,000. Vehicles recommended. I believe 48 vehicles were requested by departments. The recommended budget includes replacement of 23 vehicles, 17 in the Sheriff's Office at a cost of $830,000. $50,000 is recommended for 2 hybrid vehicles in our Tax Administration Department. $90,000 is budgeted for 2 client transportation vans, and in Animal Control, 2 replacement trucks for a cost of $70,000. In addition, $265,000 is recommended this evening for base level software for central permitting. Again, this is a system that's currently on our mainframe that needs to be moved to a